These are pictures filmed by Al Jazeera after sneaking into a Chinese hospital. Xiao Aiying would only let us film from the neck down. She is terrified of retribution. Her crime, violating the country's one-child policy. Her punishment, a forced abortion, when she was 8 months pregnant.
I had felt the baby moving round and round my belly. Can you imagine how I feel now?
Her husband, also scared, would only speak to us briefly outside the hospital and not out in the open.
There were many men surrounding my wife. They held her arms behind her back, pushed her head against the wall, kicked her stomach, and I don't know if they were trying to give her a miscarriage right there and then.
The police locked her up here and gave her unborn baby a lethal injection. What you're looking at now is Xiao Aiying with a dead fetus still inside her.
The child we do have is 10 years old. She's been feeling my wife's belly as it has grown larger and larger over the month. And my daughter says, I will have a little brother soon. I don't know how I can possibly explain to her what has happened.
What's unexpected about this case is where this took place, in Xiamen. Forced abortions sometimes happen in remote areas of China, but this one occurred in one of the country's most modern cities. In recent years, there have been plenty of mothers who have violated China's one-child policy. They usually pay a fine, anywhere from $1,000 to $40,000 US, but are then often sterilized to prevent them from having another child. Forced abortions are not condoned by the central government, but it clearly still happens. Every few years, you hear the possibility the government might end the one-child policy and allow couples to have more. But for the Luo family, those considerations are too late. Melissa Chan, Al Jazeera, Xiamen, southeastern China.
Welcome everyone to Global Government News. Today is Saturday, October 23rd, 2010. I am Darko. I'd like to ask my new listeners to please check out my website, www.ggnonline.com. GGNonline.com. Thank you. Welcome to Global Government News. This is going to be a eugenics news segment, and you just had it, a little video right there from Al Jazeera talking about the infamous one-child policy, which, if the United States doesn't pull their heads out of their rear, will eventually be going down that road. Actually, they're already going down that road. Eventually, they'll be right where the Chinese are. Because you have people from the Western powers that are important positions, who have been important positions, who speak highly of their policy, and say that it's a great thing. It's good for climate change and whatnot. And so here we go. Here, police raid late-term abortion clinic. Police have raided Victoria's only late-term abortion clinic, where an anesthesiologist or anesthesiast, whatever, is suspected of deliberately infecting his patients. So it says the Department of Human Services announced in late July that of 1,800 women tested who had come into contact with James Latham Peters, 58, had tested positive to hepatitis C. 35 of the women had genetic links to Dr. Peters' strain of the disease. It contacted a further 400 women who were to be tested, and almost 30 New Zealand women were also checked. The next story up is from the Associated Press, and it's titled "Cholera Outbreak Creeps Closer to Haiti's Capital." This is all over the mainstream news. They want people to know that the people down in Haiti aren't doing so well. And, well, they're not, and they really haven't been since the earthquake or before the earthquake. And I'm going to link, I'm not going to link, I'm going to show you a couple other articles after this. But it says a spreading cholera outbreak in rural Haiti threatened to outpace aid groups as they stepped up efforts Saturday, hoping to keep the disease from reaching the squalid camps of earthquake survivors in Port-au-Prince. Health officials said at least 208 people had died and 2,600 others infected in an outbreak mostly centered in the Artibonite region north of the capital. Says, but the number of cases in the towns near the Port-au-Prince are rising, and officials worry the next target will be hundreds of thousands of Haitians left homeless by January's devastating quake and now living in camps across the capital. Check this quote out. If the epidemic makes its way to Port-au-Prince, where children and families are living in unsanitary and overcrowded camps, the results could be disastrous, said Dr. Estrella Serrano, World Vision's Emergency Response Health and Nutrition Manager. So there you go. I don't know too much about World Vision, but they sound like they're ready and armed with vaccines. Officials confirmed at least 5 cholera cases in Archicea, whatever, a town close to Port-au-Prince. It says cholera is a waterborne bacterial infection, and the water agency was nearly doubling the amount of chlorine in the drinking water. Ooh, that should be good. I mean, I know what chlorine's used as far as what it's used for, but we look at what happened earlier this year. But let's check this out, because I just noticed this before I was going to move to the next article. Cholera had not been seen in Haiti for decades, and many people don't know about the disease, which causes severe diarrhea and vomiting that can lead to dehydration and death within hours. And you go down here, and this representative from the International Organization for Migration said it's a very new disease in Haiti, and we need to make sure that we've got all the information in order. And then, so here we go. Everyone I'm talking to is saying that they haven't heard from a single NGO, that's a non-governmental organization. That's the scumbags that, well, I dedicate my entire life to fighting. And, of course, government officials. And it says, he said, a lot of people don't even know that there is a cholera epidemic. And then we go to this article. And I just want to put out there as a disclaimer, if there's anyone out there as a new listener and doesn't really know who I am, I did donate to the survivors of the earthquake, the Haiti earthquake, so I'm not bashing these people. They got a bad deal. They've always had a bad deal as long as they've been conquered and occupied by the French and other countries. But it says here, life-saving vaccinations for Haiti's quake survivors. This is from February 18th, 2010. This is what their solution was when all hell was breaking loose, when they needed water and food and that. They came with vaccines and telecommunication infrastructure. That was their priority. It said an intensive campaign is underway in Haiti to immunize around 1.5 million Haitians amid concerns of increased risk of disease outbreaks after last month's catastrophic earthquake. And then we got someone down here talking about lots of people living in crowded areas with poor sanitation from the United Nations, UNICEF. Mass vaccination drive, which started earlier this month, is organized by the Haitian government, UN agencies, and non-governmental organizations, NGOs. Its initial aim is to protect children. And talks about all the people that have been vaccinated. And then you go down here. So this is important right here, because look at it. It says, while increased cases of diarrhea and suspected cases of measles and tetanus were reported several weeks after the quake, so far there have been no major outbreaks of disease. Vaccines are there to prevent measles, rubella, diphtheria, tetanus, and whooping cough. And then they even have some, you go down here for, diphtheria, tetanus again. So there you go. Just wanted to throw that out there. These people were well vaccinated, and they did have the rain season, which I know is bad. But either way, we're going to move on. That's just eugenics. That's all I got to say. New strain of swine flu emerges. Oh, okay. Remember the whole swine flu deal that was going on in 2008 and 2009? Scientists were looking at that strain and were speculating and actually proposing the possibility that that swine flu virus was created in a lab. And the United Nations, or WHO, openly admits that they release viruses they release viruses into the population in order to build up an immunity. So they actually let the virus out to build up an immunity against something that they don't know. They don't know what the strain is. That's how you know this whole thing is a scam, just like this. By the time they create a vaccine, which takes about 9 months, that strain has already changed. And what you need to remember, if you don't know anything about vaccines, or these pandemic vaccines mostly, not so much the vaccines in general, but these pandemic vaccines, is, you should let your body, you should let your body's immune system build up naturally and not have to use some kind of, it's like using jumper cables, and in the end, it's really bad for you. I mean, the risk don't outweigh the benefits, because if you just did what you were supposed to do and do it naturally, you're not going to die. You're going to strengthen your immune system. You're going to keep strengthening it. But if you keep taking these vaccines and you listen to the propaganda that they put on all these news outlets, they're going to tell you that, this nation is well vaccinated and they have good immunity. But no, you don't. You all have crap immunity if you're taking vaccines. And the ones that are indigenous people usually have the best immunity. But, so here we go here. And it says, animal microchips linked to causing cancer. Many veterinarians recommend them, and most animal shelters require them. Identification microchips injected into the necks of cats and dogs are touted as useful in recovering lost pets because the devices store owner and medical information. But are they safe? A new lawsuit against Merck and Company Incorporated, maker of the HomeAgain pet microchip, says they are not, and noting that they can cause cancer to develop in pets. So moving on here because we're running out of time. Shuttered Texas food plant awaits results from FDA. The results of tests done at a Texas food processing company was shuttered by state health authorities after contaminated celery was linked to 4 deaths, while will likely come next week, a FDA official said. Dr. Death, body parts for sale on internet by controversial anatomist Gunther von Hagens. Not sure if I pronounced that right, but this is the controversial anatomist Gunther von Hagens, known as Dr. Death, is to sell plasmated human body parts online. Says a German entrepreneur whose Body World exhibitions showed human cadavers in lifelike poses. He told clients they will be able to buy the fleshless corpses, which he injects with plastic resin over the internet. This is an interesting little part. Only scientists and medical experts, the experts, will be eligible to buy them, Mr. Von Hagens insisted. And this is interesting because I'm working on a script right now, and this individual is actually who I'm using for one of the characters, who is a doctor, and the script is going to be about harvesting organs in the future. And so he's there he is right there, and he looks like something out of what? Like the 50s or something, or a sci-fi movie. His daddy was a SS cook. And look down here, and it says, it talks about this radio show here. In 2003, TV production company Mentor proposed a documentary called Future Human, in which Von Hagens would perform a series of modifications on a corpse to demonstrate improvements to the human anatomy. Get this, a controversy was sparked when the company with Von Hagens appealed publicly for and recruited a terminally ill person to donate their body for the project. The documentary was canceled after the body donor pulled out. So you see, guys, and this is what I'm going to be getting into. So eugenicist, that's what it is. An anatomist, a eugenicist. And that's why only the experts are allowed to see it or purchase them. So the next one up, this is crazy. UN should stop geoengineering. Environmental activists say the United Nations should impose a moratorium on geoengineering projects to stop the increasing loss of plant and animal species. So during a meeting in Japan, a number of green groups said the projects such as artificial volcanoes and cloud seeding schemes could harm both nature and mankind. And here's where we go. They shouldn't proceed with real life in the environment experimentation or the deployment of any geoengineering until there is a consensus in the United Nations that it is okay. Well, guys, go and check this out, but the United Nations already knows about cloud seeding and weather modification, and they say that they can only use it for civilian purposes, not military, right? And this is what it's all about. I've done my research, so I know what the heck's going on with this. It is legal by the UN Charter and that to do it for civilian purposes. So what they're doing it for is for civilian purposes. And they're experimenting on you overhead, and it's all legal according to the UN. Just as long as they don't use it for military purposes, which is jamming radar and creating lightning and all other sorts of stuff, jamming communications. Oh, but we know that they're not doing that because it would be illegal, right? UN farmland shrinking across the globe, and of course they say it's because of droughts. Oh, I wonder if it's because of weather modification. U.S. envoy says deal on climate is possible. Great, here comes CO2. CDC, diabetes in U.S. could triple by 2050. Agri Secretary drops potatoes from the food program for low-income mothers. Thank you, and God bless.